Welcome, everybody, to the Rabbit Hole Vibrations podcast. We were doing a thing, my partner Holly and I, where we were doing the podcast drop every Thursday. And then we did a couple lives. I think we did 3 drops in a row. We did a couple lives. And both of us, I think we both have way more interest in the lives. So at least to begin with, I've done podcasts before. I think that not having to edit them is going to be huge. So I think here's our plan. If Holly's down with this, and I think she is, we kind of pretty much texted about the whole thing. But here's how I see the details working. So every Tuesday night, Holly and I will go live, and we want to see you guys, the community, join us on Tuesday nights live. And then if you can't, or you miss a week, or just Tuesdays don't work for you, every Wednesday morning, the Tuesday night live that we did will drop. So you can listen to it after the fact. But if you want to be in the conversation with us via chat or even joining in sometimes, I would recommend finding us on Tuesday nights here live. But every Wednesday morning, it will be out. It will be an unedited live of whatever we did on Tuesday night. And I think that at the end of each episode, if you're cool with this, Holly, I think that we drop whatever the next topic's going to be. Again, that could change if the world flipped over or we learned it was flat or something weird,
Sure.
But does that all sound about right to you though?
That sounds great to me. I mean,
Because it's just an easier commitment to not have to, because I know from the podcasting side, I was trying to figure out how do we have a little trailer, and I was like, everything I was going down was rabbit holes, literally, but not this kind that we do on the podcast. But
right.
I was like, okay, well, so I'll just edit, and then I was trying to keep editing out, and all of a sudden I found myself having like editing time. I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, this is gonna be like really editing. And that's something maybe I don't have time for. But what I do have time for is to once a week get on here live with Holly and just have a fun, open conversation about a different topic each week, and again, even if once we have people like who are joining the lives and stuff, often expect Holly and I to start the stream and to kind of get into the conversation before we'll bring people in. That's something we'll learn as we go. It won't kind of just be like, here's the topic, everybody join in. We'll probably start it usually. But then, yeah, I mean, if we start seeing comments, especially, and people are really interested and stuff, yeah, we're going to want you to come on up and talk to us.
Differing opinions than what we've been saying, or we definitely like to hear the other side of things too. So don't think that you can only come in if you agree with us, because no, we like all opinions.
Yeah, just I think the only rule we have, and we're an audio podcast, so we have no restrictions. Pretty much. I mean, like, the only restriction I think that Holly and I would both agree on that we have on here is no politics.
Right. And to be respectful of everybody.
Just kidding.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, you mean not really. Just kind of be respectful. I was just saying, like, I was just pointing out that a lot of the things we'll talk about could easily get somebody stirred to go, oh yeah, that's because it's on the right or the left. And they can make anything in this space can often be pointed a finger at a political party. And I just don't want to go that way.
No, me either.
I mean, let's just face it, you guys, if you're not awake yet, every politician, and I'm sorry to the good ones, but there's so few, but they're all bad. If you didn't know that already.
We're going to talk about things that are a lot more fun than politics anyway.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a good night for us to do, because we were doing just Holly and I recording and it wasn't live. I thought, well, okay, tonight we're giving you the new format. I like this format. I think it's going to be fun. But I think that what ties together a lot of the things that we have already talked about is to talk about CERN. And kind of what is CERN, because I think that before we start doing all these lives, it kind of ties together some of the other podcasts that we've put out. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Holly? Are you concerned?
Well, a little concerned. However, before we jump too far down that rabbit hole, I do want to clear a couple of things up.
Okay.
Because I do pride myself on always giving correct information, which is why I research and take notes before each show, depending on what we're going to talk about. And if a question comes up during the show that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to say, I don't know, but I'll try and find it for you. I'm not one of those people who's just going to spout bullshit because they don't want to say they don't know. So I'm obviously not infallible, however. So if I do happen to give information that I later find out is incorrect, I'll always come back and say, hey, I told you this, I was wrong, I want to clear this up. So with that said, I do want to clear up a couple of things that we talked about on Mel's Hole.
every time I hear Mel's Hole, I laugh.
I know, it makes you laugh.
I'm sorry. You guys, it's just me being like
It tickles Steve's hole.
It's me being childish. I just can't get past it.
Anyway, regarding how he found the second hole, we were kind of iffy on that, you and I were. So he was contacted by a couple of Native Americans who were regular listeners of Coast to Coast, and they heard his story, so they went on and contacted him and said, hey, we have this hole in Nevada you need to come see. So that's how that did happen. I looked that up after the podcast. And the Native Americans.
So it was Nevada. So Holly thought there wasn't a second hole. I knew there was, but I thought it was New Mexico or Arizona or something. But now, okay, you're getting us the details. So I knew there was a second hole though.
Well, I didn't know how he found it. I didn't.
That's what even made the whole story weirder. Like, why is there a second hole?
Right. Well, apparently this hole in Nevada, the Native Americans and the locals there regarded that hole as a spiritual focal point.
Right.
And it had a metal bar around the top, and it emitted a field of warmth.
Yeah.
So
that's where the goat was lowered in.
Well, and that's what I'm getting to also. You and I had disagreed on that because I thought that the sheep was at Mel's original hole, but you were correct. It was at the Nevada hole. Also, the ice incident was also at the Nevada hole, which I also thought was Mel's hole. So you were correct on both of those things. The ice and the sheep were both at the Nevada hole. And that ice that didn't melt when they lowered it into the hole, when they tried to light that over a fire, when they brought it back up, not only it didn't melt, but it caught fire. And I did find out that ice burned for months, which I didn't know that either. That was new.
Am I forgetting that we talked about ice? I really don't even remember mentioning ice. I remember sending the goat down. I remember.
They lowered a bucket of ice down there. And they had some
like dry ice or like ice cubes?
Just ice cubes. And they had some at their surface level too, so they could see like if it was going to melt faster, the same, or how it was going to differ from what they had on their level. So they lowered it down, they brought it back up, and the ice had not melted at all, and had kind of changed form and caught on fire instead of melting. And then it burned for months when they put it over their bonfire that they had. So I don't know. It changed the entire chemistry of the ice.
So, did you see anything about how long the Indians knew about the hole?
No, it did not say that.
Because I remember catching that they, like you were saying, that through Coast to Coast they heard about Mel's hole, and they're like, "Wait a minute, we have a hole." And I was wondering, well, like, how long did they have that hole? Well, because Native Americans are pretty familiar with their land,
right?
It's and that one had like a metal outer ring, like you were saying, and it emitted heat. I don't know. I would just think that their shamans and other people would have been very concerned about this hole.
Right. Well, the other thing too is when Mel was saying how the hole cured his cancer, I thought again that it was his hole, but that was.
I'm sorry. It
was after he visited the Nevada hole that he claimed his cancer was cured, which really makes more sense if you think about it, because they thought it was like a spiritual focal point, and they had this whole spiritual thing with the hole in Nevada. Right. So that kind of made a little bit more sense to me. But anyway, those are just a couple of things I wanted to throw out there because they were kind of like, was it this? Was it that? We weren't quite sure on that episode. So I just want to let you know I looked those up, and that was the deal. That's
So
all.
I want to find out how long those Indians have known, because I mean, my guess is, no, most Indian reservations in Nevada haven't been moved there in the past 50 plus years. You know what I mean? They've had that land forever. And so therefore, like, it's been their land. Did it just pop up? Did it? I don't know. I'm so weirded out by that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll see if I can find that, but I haven't seen that information anywhere. But
I mean,
I'll look and see if I can
like
find it.
let me put it this way, and I think we can all agree without even looking this part up. Nobody, no Indian reservation is going to let the U.S. government come onto their reservation and put a
No.
hole in the ground. That ain't happening.
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, they don't. They don't like our government anymore, and I can't
Yeah.
blame them, to be honest.
The welcome sign is not out.
Right. I mean, especially to them, they would absolutely be like, no way. And especially because they're smarter than that. They all these stories that involve Native Americans, they seem to know. Well, we know, it seems like on a lot of these stories, they know more than we do. Like, almost
Oh,
look like they know more than our government. They're
oh
like,
yeah,
dude, we've
I
known about
believe
this
it.
forever, you dummies.
I
Like,
believe it because they're a lot more secretive than we are as far as they're. I don't know. We all talk a lot. They seem to be able to keep a secret a little better than we do.
right. Yeah. Or not, not it. Maybe it's more about not talking about what you don't understand.
Right. Like we do here on this
I
podcast.
mean, because even their hieroglyphics, a lot of Native Americans hieroglyphics are very strange, tall alien like beings, and then it's not just how they carved at the time. Then they would have a smaller man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They seem to be onto something that was more than one single god, to them, at least in some forms, I think they go back that far and are like, wait a minute, we know this other story. you
Right.
know,
I don't know.
I don't know, but okay. Thanks for the correction on that, on the hole. Um, we'll now close the hole.
And we'll go on to being concerned.
But who knows? I mean, we might re-enter the hole. I don't know. It could be another episode. I don't know. Right now, though, and very likely that'll be the title of this episode is concerned. Are you concerned?
A little. Should we be? What's
I don't
new?
know. I don't know. No, I mean, just in general. I mean, I guess here's my thing on this, and why I thought it'd be a good week to do this one was just CERN itself, because CERN has 100,000 rabbit holes.
Yes.
And it's one of those topics that's impossible to pick one. Might be able to go and pick, the way I was seeing it broke down, and might be able to go and pick like 3 subtopics and put them together and say, hey, we're going to talk about this and how it relates to CERN. But I just wanted to talk about CERN in general, because it seems to be, I mean, one thing that I think that I think a lot of people are actually, like, take deep breaths in the fact, knowing that, oh my gosh, at least the best scientists in the world are on this. And my thing is, oh shit, the best scientists in the world are on this.
Right. Well, I was surprised when I found out about how long it's been around. I thought it was a newer deal, like the last 20 years. And it started in 54, I believe.
Something like that. I mean,
So I
these
was
kind of
really surprised
projects
by that.
are great in the fact that they do, I mean, there's something to be said about the International Space Station, like things like that, that even though we don't get along with, even at all, with communist countries and whatnot, we do have a somewhat understanding. Somebody might be more advanced in something than somebody else, but I do like, one of the few pros I can say about it is, I do like that we have people there. All countries have people there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Because I think it would be very scary if it were like, Russia, China, and Iran had CERN.
Right.
Like, then I'd be like, oh shit. And I'm still like, oh shit. Don't
I
get
was
me
going to
wrong.
say even more so than you already are, but yeah.
Right. But then I would even know, it would even be worse. Like, because it would be, wow, this type thing exists and it's in the hand of only communist countries?
Well, I think one thing I can say for all countries involved is that nobody really wants to see the entire world explode and us not exist. So at least we have that one thing in common. If nothing else, I think that nobody's trying to
I agree. I don't think
end
anybody at
life.
CERN is trying to kill us, but I do think that people at CERN are playing with fire that they don't have a full understanding of.
Agree.
Like, I feel like, hey, what happens if we pull this switch?
Yeah.
Like,
What if you push this button and that at the same time? What'll happen? Let's see.
I mean, again, it's probably way over your head, my head, and like our thinking on a science level. But to those in that type of work and have done field studies and won awards, and I mean, this is like the ultimate playground for them. And that's kind of what concerns me is if you think about like a lot of niches and jobs and people, they get so involved in their life and what they do for a living, like a doctor or whatnot. A lot of doctors don't even have lives that are fun. They literally are doctors all the time and then they don't do anything. Like their life will, I mean, not, I mean, again, they love their work, I guess, or whatever, but they don't like go out. They don't have a lot of friends. They don't, it's all about work all the time. And
Right.
I mean, with these guys, I kind of feel like it's the same. And I feel like CERN is that ultimate like experiment. Like you've reached this major level of being amazing in science and physics and all this. Want to come to the lab at CERN with us? Yeah. Like I can almost see like those greedy type hand things going like, yes, let's get in the lab.
Right. Well, I think probably when they saw how serious these things were and how it really could destroy life, really, if they did the wrong thing, that it would be hard not to be completely 100% just into that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and and I mean, one of the things that really concerns me is the fact that I mean, they have the particle accelerator and stuff. They say that it has the ability to form this gets very weird with the language. It has the ability to form a black hole. However, that is not what they're trying to do. However, it's like a 1 in a million chance it'll happen. And last, if it does happen, by the way, we don't understand black holes at all.
Yeah, we're sorry. Oops.
I mean, to me, that's kind of the kind of mind blowing stuff I'm talking about.
Didn't they say though that when they did turn it on, I don't know if it was the first time or when it was, but that a very tiny, tiny black hole opened and like closed so quickly, like that it didn't affect anything, but it was like, or did I dream that?
I don't
I
know,
heard
but
that.
again, I really don't trust these people. I mean,
Well,
I get that a lot of things are weird even, but like even when you and I barely touched on this a few weeks back and we were just talking about simply the piece of art in their courtyard.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really weird. Their ceremony, beyond weird.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's like I get it. I get that like, but it's also like, I mean, I also probably wouldn't have fun at a pagan meeting either. It's
Or like,
like,
who thought up all of that stuff? It's like, I don't know.
or was that a pagan meeting? I don't even know. I mean, it was so disturbing. I'm like, how is this relevant to physics?
Well, I think that ceremony that we saw was related to the tunnel that they built. So is that tunnel
Okay.
connected to CERN, or how is that related to CERN? Do you know?
Well, it's probably where they have because the machine is so big. And they're not gonna, how much they would scare the world if they were firing that laser above the ground.
Oh my.
I mean, whether just like in Ireland or something, or right there in Switzerland, they're like, "Hey, everybody, look to the left real quick."
And then I also heard, are they building? And I don't know if this is true or if this is just something somebody spouted out. So I'm asking. Don't take this as a fact because I do not know this. But I read somewhere that they were building one that's even bigger than this. Is that true or not true?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's always getting bigger.
Because this one is how many miles across? 19? Is that right?
Something. I mean, the fact that that it's a particle accelerator that hundreds of scientists are all putting their hands into is very scary. Some of the, I mean, I've on several different things I've seen on videos or read things, and it often, even like in physics magazine or physics.org, like very legitimized sites, there's there's weird quotes about CERN in there where they're like, yeah, we were doing this, and this happened, and this could have gone this and this way, all of which are horrible, so we stopped going forward. I'm like going, dude, what about when you guys missed that piece of data?
Right.
Like, what about when I mean, because I know, like, I work with lasers for production status, and those are very, very powerful. Can't imagine what the hell this is.
Well, didn't Elon Musk even come out and say that he was very afraid for our world with CERN? He was very concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, well, with him, it might just be that he's not happy that he can't go down into the CERN club. I don't
Be
know.
part of it. He wasn't invited to the party.
Exactly. And I really am kind of saying that. I mean, I like Elon, but I'm just saying, like, he seems like the type who'd be like, oh, I wasn't invited. I feel like I guess if I'm saying if he was down there or was invited, maybe he wouldn't have made that comment.
Well, maybe, but I mean, he might. He seems to be smart enough to know
No,
that.
I hear you. I hear
You
you.
know what I mean? So, like, if he's worried, then maybe we
But
should
I
all be
mean,
worried.
I don't see, but I see again, I don't see, I think most people literally just don't know. So even if this episode of the podcast does nothing more than bring attention to the fact of CERN and have you guys go look it up, even, and I'm not talking about doing a deep dive like we're going to be doing on many of these podcasts, but even just looking it up. I mean, I think everybody listening should go look up what CERN is. If you don't know, you should go see pictures and look up just the Wikipedia even. Go look up what it does.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't know anything about it until we started this. So,
I mean, it's basically the biggest piece of machinery on the planet,
right.
and it has capabilities to do things. Every time that they get into this, the schematic part of my brain is reading it correctly, but I'm also reading their kind, it's not cover wording, and I don't feel like they're even trying to cover up too much. It's just pretty sketchy. No matter what you read, it's like they're not, a lot of articles just don't, this is one they don't sugarcoat. This isn't so much a conspiracy. That's why I wanted to talk about it tonight, because this one is more like factual. Like,
Right.
even like all the scientists say, yes, this is what, are you doing sketchy stuff down there? Absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit, but it'll be okay. Well,
I mean,
don't
we're doing
worry.
it underground. Don't worry about it. Are
Yeah,
you
you can look
sure?
the other
Not
way.
really, but we're pretty sure. And there's a lot of us that are pretty sure.
Yeah. If we hit the wrong button, we're sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I guess, like, okay, so another thing is there, here's something I don't know either. Is there an oversight for CERN? Because here's something I do know, operating out of Switzerland or out of Geneva like they do, there aren't laws that would restrict them. That's one of the perks of, I don't know if you know this, but to live in Switzerland
Oh, yes.
is like you pay, and I'm not, no joke, you pay like 90% tax.
Wow.
So like anything that you're bringing in, you're paying 90% on. If you make $100, you just made 10. and and
Why
for
is it
that,
not
everything's
that?
kept extremely secretive, and you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. That concerns me, that Geneva is where CERN is. Like if you throw enough money at Switzerland, you can do what you want here.
I thought
um,
we were supposed to be the neutral country, and
well, it is. I mean, if you go back in time, it's even where CERN is in Geneva is the Geneva Summit.
right.
I mean, it's basically where anybody, it was, I mean, I think that even predates does it predate the United Nations? I believe it does.
I think
But
so.
so that's a place where everybody was supposed to feel safe refuge. Like I think you can't deport from there either. Like that's a really hard thing to any country even wanted. I don't know. Switzerland's odd.
I've been in Switzerland.
I have too, but it was only passing through doing
Right.
production work, and I
Us too.
literally was in a venue and then right back on a bus. I didn't even
We were in
see anything.
Germany. We just drove through and kind of drove up and down the Swiss Alps and looked around for a day when we were in
Yeah.
Germany. So that was it.
I mean, to be honest, for those just quick geography point in case those, I know a lot of the listeners on this so far are really pretty smart. So, but for those that don't know, Switzerland's really small. A lot of European countries are. It's really weird when you're over there because when you hear about them, even when you see them on a map, you're always like, oh, okay. And you're not doing the perspective thing. But when you get over there, it's like they're like states.
Mm-hmm.
you're,
Yeah, it is
you're,
really.
I mean, you're like crossing a new country every 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. That's
It's
true.
like you're entering, you're leaving, you're entering, you're leaving. Like,
Yeah, we drove in Austria. We just drove in the passport thing to get our passport stamped and drove right back out. We didn't even go in. It was like, oh, we just want to get a stamp on our passport. Let's drive through Austria. Sure.
yeah,
It's like, entering Alabama and leaving. It's like no big deal.
yeah. I mean, and some of them are literally small states. So I don't know. I'm just pointing that out. But yeah, what makes Geneva the place? I don't know. What makes that weird? Um, what? Now I'm drawing a blank on its name. I do not have my notes in front of me. But the goddess of death or whatever. What is it? Destruction.
Their
Destruction.
statue. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that being outside of CERN, and even though it was a gift, the fact that it was a gift from what, India or,
India. Mm-hmm.
okay, so
India.
there's physicists working on CERN from India, just like other countries.
Right.
And I mean, this is the gift. Hey, let's just put this up. Okay, that's weird.
Right. Of everything they could have picked, I do find that a little odd, I have to say.
And I almost feel like, it's almost, I've been all over, weird when I see weird things like that, and we talk about it on this show, and we'll be talking about these kind of things on this show. I gotta say, like, I get different ideas, like different at different times. Like I'll go through little stages, and I was thinking for a minute, and then when you and I first looked it up, I was like, damn, that's messed up. Like they should not do. I don't even care. That shouldn't be there. And then I went through this thing of like, I wonder if it's like, hey guys, always remember if you screw up, we all die.
Well, that's true. You have a point. You have a point.
Like almost like if you're looking out your window at CERN, you're looking at the goddess of death, and you're like, wait, right, maybe I shouldn't go this far.
Right. Maybe I should be a little more careful with this experiment.
I mean, I don't know. I was trying to take a different view of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was trying to be like, okay, wait a minute. So, but yeah, I don't know. At the same time, I can't get over those ceremonies. I can't get over the fact that that statue is there, and it is a big deal. That's one of the first things that really caught my attention about CERN. Not so much the piece of machinery and all the scientists and what they were doing at first. It was really about a lot about that. I was weirded out by that. And then, like I was mentioning how we got to Geneva and whatnot, the fact that seems to be no oversight on CERN. That's also concerning.
Right. Who's the big wig in charge that gets to say yay, nay? There has to be.
Right. Or even like, why is there no regulatory group of different government members from different sectors, even where their strong points are, but where none of them are scientists? And just like for the good of mankind, do you think they're going too far? you know
Well, yeah.
I mean, like, I know, like, I mean, like, look, if you look at like Iran, um I, now it's just a totally different mess, but if you go back many years, I'm sure you remember this, Holly, where they would kind of let us in to do like a nuclear warhead check to see how many they actually had.
Right. I
But
do.
they would take us around and go, no, this is where they are. Well, now we have much better equipment, but they would have like, we have intel that you have some over that mountain. Over that mountain, no. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
wait, what? I'm pretty now. I don't even know anything about it. I'm pretty sure over that mountain, yeah. Like,
Right. We just took it at your
because
word.
it just now. I mean, we can do heat sensors, and we've got drones and all these things to go. No, no, you have them down there. And since then, that kind of thing doesn't exist. But we did used to, like, that's what I'm talking about. We used to have a somewhat regulatory committee to go in and say, and we all knew. I think if you remember this right, we all knew we're not getting a real count, but at least our people have been in there. And this was, I mean, again, this was probably the what 90s, let's say, early or late 80s, like, that I'm talking about anyway. So it predates a lot of technology. So to have people that were able to go into Iran and get tours of some of the plants was a big deal at that
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Like now we have
100%.
the drones to go, no, they're all right. We know where all of them are.
Right.
So that this was a lot different, but I'm just pointing out, like, now they would never let us in there, even on a fake tour. And
Well,
it's like, but so these regulatory committees are now, it needs to be the drones. So, like, why isn't, I don't know, why isn't there and I do understand that, again, CERN is a bunch of the smartest people in the world who could probably outtalk any government officials from around the globe.
true.
So, I mean, but why isn't there a committee that says, hey, we're not here to listen to you, we're here to do our work and evaluate?
It's a good question.
I mean, I don't know. It seems weird to me that we're like, hey, you guys, you should all go play down in that hole and see what happens.
Well, and even what they tell us that they're trying to discover with this machine,
Right.
to me, doesn't even make any sense. It's like, really, who cares? I mean, if you look at all the money that's been poured into that, and then you look at the other problems that our world has with starvation and these countries that are in terrible shape and things that we could have like helped mankind in a better way with that money than what they're doing, to me it just seems like frivolous.
I mean, and that's where, that's where we can split off, and there will be the many, many different rabbit holes that we can decide to even subgroup some or whatever of CERN, because I mean, I saw things about how, there's a lot of, obviously, things on the projects there that are like, yeah, this is what they say it is, but like you are saying, almost like, but why the hell would that matter, and why would we be
Right.
doing this much for it?
Yeah. Who
But
cares?
so then you become a little, people start, especially conspiracy theory people, start going, dude, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like the real story. And I have seen a couple things that say that, potentially it was to offset polar shift, or shifts that might, and I haven't seen anything that says that we've ever needed to do anything, but that could potentially offset, like, an asteroid hitting or something, like, I don't know. Again, these are just other rabbit holes, and I haven't explored them. And so, like Holly was saying, I haven't done any research on this. This was just me going over like, I was looking at CERN and seeing if we could bring in some direct stories about CERN. But I think it was just more today to just say, you guys should all be aware before we start doing this podcast, and every week doing something different and talking about a subject and having you guys on, and however they go, and getting through that subject. We alluded to, it was weird. All the first 3 or 4 podcasts we did all kind of tied together in one way or another. Even Dulce and this and they all kind of tied together. And it's somewhere at the helm of it was CERN and a lot of underground tunnels. And I think that a lot of conspiracy theories are down with that. So if it's not to offset some kind of gravitational thing with the Earth or something like that, or it's not serving as some kind of defense mechanism. I mean, because
Right.
again,
It's just
I
to
don't look
discover
at
like
it.
dark matter.
It can't be against aliens. You know what I mean? Like, we're too stupid to do that, and they would know.
Well, and the aliens are watching over our nuclear plants because that's where they always show up.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah,
They're concerned.
and obviously that's out of concern. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's concerned, and that's the thing. Um. Hey, Baram, thank you for joining, and notice the CERN logo looking like 3 6s. Really?
I have
Oh.
heard that. I've heard that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just pictured it in my head as soon as you said that. And so, yeah, why I hadn't even thought that, but God, they are twisted people, man. I guess here's what I will say about it. If CERN is doing good things, they really need to come up with a way to show people that they're doing some good stuff, because having like this crazy like pagan ritual to the whole, putting the the goddess of destruction outside of the building and having three sixes make their logo isn't really selling me.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, to me, I mean, it's just so over the top. Because if it is three sixes, like, why? Why would you do that? And don't for a minute tell me it was an accident.
Right. I
You
read
know,
something. I can't remember exactly what I read about how that logo came about. I did read something which was probably a bunch of BS, but I can't remember what it was now.
but no matter what, Holly, honestly, do you believe like somebody made the logo and then all of a sudden after it was the logo, they're like, "Hey, you notice that it looks like three
What
sixes?" And
kind of
a
yeah,
thousand scientists, a thousand of the brightest minds on the planet are like, "Huh, I didn't notice that." Really?
right.
Like, I have a feeling they voted on it even, and I don't even know, but I have a feeling they were like, "Love it, let's do it." I don't know where these people are at. They might be
Maybe they just have a really
pagans.
sick sense of humor.
So we have a live comment here that my thoughts on CERN is that it might just be another form of NASA where they tell us they are doing great things, so the taxpayer doesn't question where their money is actually going. I don't even know that where how much of my money goes to CERN. I don't know how much of mine goes to. I don't think that. I mean, I don't know, unless they're burying that like we talked about in a past episode where we were talking about how they weren't really telling you about the money they spent on Dulce and all these other government funded projects. But again, I would go to the point of why would they be spending money on CERN?
Right. Well, that's a good question. Where does the money for CERN come from? Is it from the taxpayers of every country that's involved, or I don't know.
I mean, most likely it. I mean, even if it is tax dollars, it rides on the backs of like 10 to 15 countries. The other countries kind of get a pass.
Right. Sure.
Another thing I never understood, because you can go to debtclock.org and watch our debt go through the roof,
That's
but other places don't have to pitch in. Come on. you know. And all of those people thinking, yeah, but you guys live so great. You come here. See how great it is.
well, it is pretty great compared to some other countries, I have to say.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm telling you that, and again, I've been around for a while, but I'm telling you that list keeps getting smaller and smaller of the countries it's better than. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good things to like about this country. There's just so much craziness, though. And I'm not just talking about school shootings and the horrible things. I'm talking about like how far we've gone with woke and just, oh my God, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be part of this society.
Oh, well, it's not getting any better, that's for sure.
Right. But I mean, like, I'm like, okay, like like, this. I'm so thankful that my son is graduating. I'm so thankful I don't have to go through another year of what they're going to change next year. I feel bad for my kids, or for friends that have kids in high school or in middle school now, early high school, because it gets so much worse every year. Like what
Oh,
they've
it
been
does.
adding and what they're doing in these schools.
It has changed so much since my kids were in school, and
And
now
this, yeah, and I was going to say,
grandkids are
this
now
isn't just
starting
you
to
and
say,
I being like, oh, in our time, like our grandparents said, and our parent, it's not like that. I'm talking about real weird changes.
oh, I know. I know. That's a whole nother rabbit hole we could get into for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been horrible, And then I got down. I mean, not to get too sidetracked, but just on a quick second, like I had to like really jump some hoops to find out really there's no way around this, and you have to. I mean, there's no red states making you do this, but Colorado. Okay, it does. To graduate high school, you have to apply for financial aid. Even if you have decided you're not going to college, even if you have decided this, that, the other, no matter what, to graduate now here, you have to apply for financial aid. That's bullshit.
What is the point?
I think the point is that they're thinking about, I mean, it's like a selling point. Like, think about some of these kids who are like, okay, well, now I got the financial aid. I'll be in debt the rest of my life. What are you talking about? I wouldn't have gone to college. I was going to do this trade. And really, trades are a great idea right now. That's something that's going to be needed forever, and they're great jobs. Um, but now it'll be all racking up. I mean, look, if any of this bill goes through to kill 100 and what is it, 146 billion student loan debt, that is going to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's gonna, I think that tied with something like this is almost like, look, dude, you can just go to college. You're not gonna have to pay for it. Don't worry about it.
But I don't understand what their point is in making everyone apply for it.
Because maybe some people will go, oh my gosh, and they just don't, like, they've never seen, because you only either do it once or not. So they've never seen that with financial aid, you can go to any college you want for 4 years, and here's how it'll work. But really, you're not seeing the back end of the repayment. You know how this works. I mean, it's kind of like, when you first go to college, like the first few days, people have like Visa stands and stuff that you can set up a credit card in minutes at like 72% interest.
Oh yeah, the credit card companies love the college age kids.
Right, but they'll sit on the campuses, and if you ever notice, it's
Mhm.
only the freshmen who approach those people, because by
Right,
sophomore and up, they're like, dude, I did that last year. I
right.
fell for that shit last year. It's
Yep.
And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a huge way of entrapment almost. Like, hey, look at how easy you could go to college. Yeah, but dude, most colleges are, 30 to 60 grand these days a year.
But some of the financial aid,
Yeah,
you don't you
whatever.
don't you don't pay it all back. I mean, some of it is grants and stuff that I mean, because I did financial aid and got some stuff paid for that, but
Yeah, no, I mean, no, but again, I think your and my time was a lot different. If I mean, let's, I mean, you could, okay, up till now, you can declare bankruptcy on a business, on yourself, on whatever you want to do, but you can't put school into it. Like, even if you go bankrupt and you have to go through the whole process, you don't get to go bankrupt on your school.
oh really?
No.
Hmm.
No, you have to, like, school, and there's one other that why am I drawing a blank on it? There's two things that you can't include in your bankruptcy. School's one of them. Always has been. But under this, if they do get like a bailout almost for all the student loans, that's going to be the first time in history. And so therefore, what? Now can you declare it on a bankruptcy? Because that's pretty messed up, because the whole way it was put to me, and again, this is just what it is that, like, yeah, who will pay for it? I mean, this one isn't CERN. This one's easy. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how they break it up, but the taxpayers have to pay for it.
It would be nice if everyone could go get the education they want to have, though, without having to pay for it. I mean, that would be great. But somebody
Right,
has
but
to pay for
they
it.
need to make that not, but then there should be no financial aid.
Right.
It should just be like, yeah, you can go to school, you
Right.
know.
No, that's what I'm saying. In a perfect world, that's how I would want it. But
Right, it's almost like that's why I was putting it into that perspective. I feel like it's almost like those people with the credit cards preying on you, $500 limit and 17% because you're a freshman in college. You know
mhm.
what I mean? And they got you. Even at that 500 limit, they got you. You'll be paying just the interest for the rest of college. You'll never even get to the 500. It's like, it's so sad. Like, they just screw you. And I feel like it's that on a much larger scale.
Right. And what college freshman doesn't want to go get their own credit card?
Right. And which like my son having to do this, even though he already knows his path and whatnot. And I found out he truly does, because I said, hey, if you don't do it, you will graduate. Trust me. I had to find out the hard way that no, they were very, very serious. And then I looked into it, and many other states are doing it. And it's just weird to me. I'm like, this is wrong. You should not make people apply for financial aid.
I'm going to look into that because I don't know.
There was in fact, if you want to look at, if you look it up, there's a New York Times article that's really good on it.
Okay, well, if you have it handy,
From
send it to me. But
yeah, it was from like a month ago, because it was when it first came up for me. Because when my son first told me, it was, it was like I immediately was like, no, you don't. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
of
never heard
course
of
I
that
said that. I'm
before.
like, he's like, I have to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, you only do that if you're going to college. You're specifically not. And he's like, no, I can't graduate without doing this.
That is very odd.
Yeah.
I just want to know what they say their reason is, what the
Yeah.
government says. That's what I want to know.
Who knows? I mean, I honestly, I think that, I mean, just if you think about it, I think that you're just going to get a lot of kids who, if they didn't do it, maybe like, we have another couple people that have joined, and somebody's saying it would be nice if more people would learn a trade. At the same time, I'm all for like upper learning too, but yeah, I think I agree. I think I'm actually concerned about that. I'm
Well,
concerned not enough people are learning trades these days.
what I also didn't like is that, like when my daughter graduated from high school and wanted to go to college, she couldn't get financial aid because at that point it was based on her parents' income instead of just her income, and you have to wait until you're 24 until it flips, and then you can do it on your own and not with your parents' information. So she had to wait to go to college, and so she's going to graduate next December now, but she would have graduated, several years earlier had she done it on her own income instead of ours.
Right?
So
Yeah. Right. So I mean, that sucks for her, right?
yeah, because she couldn't start until
And
she was like 24.
and I mean, and obviously there's something real obvious. It sucks for the person who is like what are we, Generation X? Is that right?
I don't know.
Whatever.
XYZ something, I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, but we're, I mean, like some of the older people who graduated, paid their all their school back for like 10 years after they went. But also think about the person who's worked their hands off their whole life, blue collar worker, blue collar family, and now will be bearing the taxes of a school bailout. He never got to go.
I know. I was
So
lucky. My parents did pay for my college, so I didn't really have to pay anything. But
no, and there's nothing wrong with that either. That's not my point. I would feel bad for the person who has to pay for taxes, because I mean, it's just a trick to the younger generation that school's free. Somebody has to pay for it.
right, right.
I mean, and we all know. I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm going down a rabbit hole at this point. We all know
No,
that
I mean we
what
pay
happens there,
now. We
taxes.
pay for the elementary level. We pay for the high school level. We
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
up until then. So
Right. I think that I would just want a lot more say in, well, how much are these schools costing? You know what I
right.
mean? It's like the White House. You hear about these stories about like the toilet seats are $1,000. Really?
Well, I wonder, are the scientists at CERN still paying off their education?
No. No, and I don't know. Um, so I guess as we walk it out here, one last time, I will just real quick recap to people what will be happening. Thank you everybody for joining into this live. This was more of our rebranding, and I think this is such an easier and better layout for us. It's going to work a lot easier. Is that catch us live on Tuesday nights, be part of the conversation, come in the chat like you guys were. We'd love that. Like just even like putting some information out there, like you were saying that, the sixes, and like you were playing into that. Or if you want to join in after Holly and I get a little ways in, but those will be on Tuesday nights. And then on Wednesday mornings it will drop on all pod players, but obviously here on Podbean land, since that's where we host. And then yeah, and at the end of every episode, like hopefully we're going to do right now, we'll tell you what the topic next week will be. Which, Holly, do we have one?
Yes, next week on our podcast, we're going to investigate remote viewing and astral projection. Is it real or is it made up? And while they have many similarities, there are also vast differences. We're going to discuss what our government has used remote viewing to try to find out, and if their findings validate or invalidate the validity of this phenomenon.
Okay. So I wonder then, maybe we should put a link. Should we put a link of at least where the jumping point story or video is that we're using into this podcast?
Well, I don't
Into the
really have
notes,
one at this point.
that way people no, but if you want to find like one that you'll send me too, that it doesn't have to be the only one we're using, but hey, this pretty much sums it up.
Okay, yeah, I can look for something.
Like something kind of short, easy, so you can just read it, understand it, and then kind of branch off, find some of your own things. Because then we can challenge the audience too to, hey, yeah, here's the article that is
Okay.
kind of the core of it, but you guys go off and find your own information too and bring it back live next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll find you something in the next 24 hours that we'll add to the notes.
And so, we have Bahram is saying, you guys have social media. We have YouTube. It's set up. It's not going yet. I don't know what other social medias we might have. Maybe TikTok. I can see TikTok being fun. And Holly, I can see Holly running our TikTok because she's pretty creative and funny like that. She might take these episodes and break them up. I don't know. But I don't think, I mean, I don't know, Holly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we'll be on Facebook or
You don't want to do
Instagram.
Facebook? I could do Facebook.
Okay. Then maybe.
At least where we put, something out, just at least announcing like, hey, we're going to be live and this is our topic this week or something.
Yeah. So, but, I mean,
something we'll talk about and figure out.
Yeah. I mean, for now, this is where we are. And this is good. I mean, like, we've had 2 in here tonight, we've had 4 in here another day, so I mean it'll grow, and we know that with every week's traction it'll grow. So you guys come back and join us, and
let us know what social media that you would like to see us on too. That'll help if you guys throw in your opinion on which one.
Baram had said TikTok gets good traction. Yep. That's probably right too, but I'm not sure. Are you talking about going live on TikTok? That gets a little complicated. I actually can go live with a different account I have, but you have to have a certain number of people, and then how do you do it? You I don't even know. Yeah, it would be difficult. But at least we could break stuff up and maybe bring people's attention to it.
Right.
Sure. But yeah. Thank you guys. And by the way, make sure to follow, even if you just want to. I know that's a little different on Podbean. If you want to just follow the live or you want to follow the podcast too, follow both, whatever you guys want to do. But follow us so you know when we go live, and keep joining us back here and help us build this community and be part of it. We definitely love all your questions, comments, concerns, all that kind of stuff. And I guess that's it for this week, and we'll see you back here next week on the Rabbit Hole Vibrations podcast.
All right. See you guys later.
Take care, everybody.